But then, and if you want to go onward back from Daniel to Isaiah, there's another element that gets our attention after that throne with all that fire and fiery river and all that. Look at Isaiah chapter 6. Because in Isaiah 6, we as our eyes are glancing around, as you're walking up to your spot to stand before the throne of the Majesty on high, you notice all the angels, and then you notice the glass reflective mirror floor, and then the throne with all the lightning and thunder and fire and all. But then you look up and you go, whoa, and you start seeing these burning ones, they're called. And they're described 2 times in the Bible. In Isaiah 6, our eyes turn to follow the 4 glistening living beings, each with 4 distinct faces, lion, calf, man, eagle, and completely covered with eyes. They move like flashes of light, with fire passing between them, gliding through the expanse around the Ancient of Days in theocentric orbit, always facing the Almighty. There's a little interesting thing. The reason they have 4 faces is that wherever you look, you would see all 4 of the faces. Because each of them have all 4, but because they're square and because they're on the 4 corners moving around, you would always see all 4 faces, because that's how the Lord designed it as they do their God-centered orbit. But here's a description of some of these burning ones. These are the Seraphim. Seraph means the burning one. Cherubim, these are, whether these are the same or subsets or whatever, we do know that Satan was the highest cherub. He was the anointed cherub. So, I hate to blow your pictures of the guy in the red tights and the little pitchfork and thing, but Satan actually has 4 faces. He's a cherub. We know what he looks like. He's covered with eyes. But we're not into Satanology tonight. But look at this. Isaiah 6. In the year King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on the throne. So now Isaiah is seeing the same scene. High and lifted up, and the train of his robe. So Isaiah adds that. Filled the temple. Above it stood seraphim, the burning ones. Each had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one cried to another, saying, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the posts of the door were shaken by the voice of him who cried out, and the house was filled with smoke. So I said, now this is amazing, just getting a glimpse of God, seeing him, affects people. I remember my few times I've watched some of the charismatic programming. And I believe many, many, many charismatics are born again, just like many, many Baptists and many, many Bible church people. Not all charismatics are saved. Not all people in this church are saved. It's only those who have had a living relationship with Jesus Christ. But I have noticed on charismatic television this notion that they regularly bump into the Lord. I remember in Tulsa, Oral Roberts was always bumping into the Lord. Sometimes he was 900 feet tall. He just bumped into Jesus here and there. I remember another charismatic pastor that used to shave and talk to Jesus. He'd watch him in the mirror, standing behind him. And he would keep shaving. Did you notice what happens when you get anywhere near the Lord? Verse 5. I said, woe is me, I'm disintegrating, just like Job said. I've seen you and I'm falling apart. And Isaiah said the same thing. I am undone, I'm falling apart, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips, for my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. When you get a true sight of the Lord, you don't keep shaving. You fall. Look what John did. When John saw the Lord, he fell on his face like a dead person in Revelation chapter 1. We need to, in our worship, in our devotional time, in our prayer time, we need to see the Lord more. It's the most humbling thing to see the Lord. We are undone. We realize that we are unclean lips. We dwell in the midst of an unclean lip people. We see the King. And then look at verse 6. Then one of the seraphim, one of these burning ones, flew to me, having in his hands a live coal which he had taken with the tongs from the altar. And if you compare this, John sees the same thing. He sees this altar and the coals and this whole thing in Revelation, especially as it involves in chapter 8 our prayers in chapter 8 verse 3. But he touched my mouth with it. So this burning one takes a tong and gets a burning coal and brings it up and touches Isaiah's mouth with it and said, "Behold, this has touched your lips. Your iniquity is taken away, and your sin is purged." So the burning ones capture our focus.